the media, he mentioned that how this issue will be resolved, assured that indeed this issue will be resolved and that those security agencies who are not able to vote today will definitely get the opportunity to do so. But Erastus Donko, if you can hear me now, bring us up to speed on the situation on the areas that you visited today regarding the special voting.
Your names on the main register, and so come December 7th, many of them are likely to vote there. There are others who feel that due to their duty posts and where they are, they cannot vote on that particular day. So some of them, they say, will be disenfranchised.
Well, so but this explanation, did it sit well with those who could not find their names in the special voters list, where they are assured enough that they will still get the opportunity and that they will not be disenfranchised?
Well, there are some who were not visibly not happy with that, because they feel that they followed the necessary protocols to send their list to the EC, and so they do not understand why their names could not be found in the register. Some of them, security officials, who claim that their duties assigned to them, they will not be available and they cannot go back to their original voting centers to vote. And so clearly they are disenfranchised. They cannot vote on election day. So there were people who were not too happy with that situation.
Of course, the wearing of nose masks. Elsewhere, we've had people being turned away to go get their face masks before being allowed to vote. Do we have situations like that in the areas that you visited?
Well, no, but the EC was very strict in all the centers that we went. We went to Mencia North and South, Aswate, Oforiko, Kwame. The EC in all these areas was very, very strict on the COVID-19 protocol. There were situations where people were asked to put on their nose mask. I saw one particular person who was wearing a nose mask that was branded in a political color. And so he decided not to wear it because he felt it was not allowed at the station. So they asked him to find another one and wear it, wash his hands before he can go through the protocol. So I must say that the COVID-19 protocol, social distancing, those mask wearing, and even sanitizers were given to people after voting to sanitize their hands before they left the scene. So yes, it was strictly enforced in all the areas we visited.
Thankfully, you've been interacting with some residents in the areas that you visited. We can listen to some of them.
Seals that were fixed on the ballot box, and then we submitted to the Armory.
Tell us about what happened the whole of today in the Swami constituency. How many people were being expected to vote? How many voted as of today? So voting has ended, and the processes for the party agents to certify and sign the statement of poll has ended. They've added their seal to the box at the moment, and here behind me, the Swami District Police, they've handed over the boxes. I'm here with the Swami District Director for the Electoral Commission, Mr. Seth Mensah. Mr. Mensah, tell us, what is to happen right now that voting has ended, the boxes have been sealed?
Yes, so voting ended. We've brought the ballot boxes to the police armory to be there until 7th December, when it will be retrieved to the collation center and counted. That is where it will be counted. So for now, it will be kept at the police armory until 7th December. Yeah.
Take me through the process. Right after voting ended, take me through what the party agents were doing over there before the boxes were brought here.
Oh yeah, so when the voting ended, the statement of poll, there are some areas that you need to fill. So we filled those portions of the form. The party agents also affix their seals to the ballot boxes. By law, they may choose to affix their seals to the ballot boxes. So that was what they were doing. So they took the serial numbers of the various seals that were affixed on the ballot box, and then we submitted to the Armory.
Tell us about what happened the whole of today in the Swami constituency. How many people were being expected to vote? How many voted as of today?
Yes, we were expecting 385 people to vote, and then 354 voted. So that is what happened. 385 expected, and 354 voted.
Concerning challenges with people not finding their names in the register, what can you say?
Yes, there were situations where people came, they were actually not registered voters in the constituency, as in Swami. So we directed them to their various centers to cast their votes. So that is what happened. We didn't really have much of a challenge here at Swami. Yeah.
Any lessons to be learned from the special voting today?
Oh yes, I mean, we've done this over, and we learned from experiences and all that. So we will take that experience into 7 December and whatever that we are supposed to do. We make sure that we make sure we give Ghanaians an incontrovertible elections, and elections that cannot be, I mean, it will be very free and fair. And that's what the Electoral Commission will do on 7 December.
Many thanks for your time. Mr. Seth Mensah is the Swami District Director for the Electoral Commission. You heard him there. But many of the party agents who came in here to witness the event are happy with what happened so far. Let me speak with you. Which party do you represent?
I represent MPP.
Now tell me, what is your reaction? How do you see the whole process today?
Oh, the whole process is so nice. It's so beautiful. Everything is normal. There's no problems. There's no fighting, no casualty, everything. I recommend EC. He have done well. He have done well. Truly, he have done well. Of course.
Everything so nice, everything so beautiful. Of course, we are live on Joy 99.7 FM as well. On DSTV channel is 421, Go TV channel 144. This is your election headquarters, made possible by Petrosol, clean fuel, full quantity, and of course, Cowbell Coffee. Voter turnout has been a main issue for many, at least from the areas that we've been monitoring. You've heard from Ayawaso West Wogon. Out of the 1,225 voters, we had 1,000 of them voting or turning up to vote. Well, we're bringing you the figures from all the regions. Like we said, we are covered everywhere. But let's now bring in some of the officials. We will be speaking to the Electoral Commission. But we'll start off from Kodeo.
In fact, we also joined, thankfully, by the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Siribo Kweku. And also joining us rightly is Rodose with the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. There has been a few issues, obviously, today that had come up. And as I say, this is special voting, but it offers your EC such a good opportunity to sort of test your own systems in readiness for elections. First time we are having in general elections in the context of a pandemic. And so obviously it raises all manner of questions that we need to answer ahead of December 7th. Let me start first with the Dr. Siribo Kweku with the Electoral Commission, who is joining us right now. Dr. Kweku, thank you for your time here on your election headquarters. Let me ask you, give me first your EC's assessment of how today had gone for you. 109,000, it's quite a number, but nothing compared to 17 million that we expect may vote on December 7th. How did it go?
Thank you very much. I want to say that glory be to God. We went through the exercise. I today visited about 9 centers in Central Region as monitoring. And I would say that wherever I went, my first attraction is the BVD, because this is the first time we are using it for an election. And with the exception of Kasua, I would say is where 2 people had to be verified through the official. Then 2 other places, there are 1-1. All the other voters went through the fingerprint verification. There was no manual verification today. And I'm happy that assurance there that the new BVD is very efficient. Again, all the places that I visited, you could see the camaraderie between the agents. If you go there and you stand by and look at them, there's total understanding between the agents. They have a chart, they do everything. When I go, I will ask them questions, and everybody confirms that they're doing a successful activity. Then when it comes to the COVID protocols, you see that all those who I saw there were in a mask. The temperatures were given, including myself. My temperature was taken today for about 9 times. Then they all washed their hands through the barometer bucket. When they were verified to, they were sanitized. The hands were sanitized. So, in summary, based on what the agents told me and what I saw myself, I'm happy that the exercise has been a very successful activity.
Let's start with the COVID. One of the key issues that came up early today was people showing up at the polling centers to cast their ballots without face masks and being asked to go turn away and come back with a face mask, or in essence, they would issues about the ability to cast a ballot without it will arise. What is the directive from the EC headquarters to the EC officers at polling stations across the country on this matter? Have they been instructed to turn away those who come to the polling stations without face masks?
No, it is against law for you to go out without a mask. So the instruction is that if you go there without a mask, you should be asked to go and put on a mask before you.
Okay, but what about, because you can't also disenfranchise a person, right? I mean, what about the person who can genuinely afford or have a face mask? Does that mean that the person can't vote?
I feel uncomfortable when the media raise these issues. Are we asking people not to respect the law? Are we asking people not to observe the COVID protocols? So the people should be allowed to go to the centers without observing protocols. And you are the very people who always come out and say that we went to and the people are not observing the protocol. Please, the instruction is that if you don't have the mask, don't go to the center. We will not handle you. Okay.
Now, on that point, and I agree with you 100%. Go to the polling center with a face mask. You have to, because we all know we are in a pandemic situation. There is an executive instrument. I agree with you. But I'm asking this question in anticipation of what might happen on December 7th. This is why. This is special voting. And special voting are for people who you should expect should either afford or must have a face mask. They shouldn't have any problem accessing it. Even some of them have challenges today. What about that grandmother in a village who can't afford a face mask, hasn't got one, and genuinely doesn't have one, not because he doesn't want to wear it? What happens to that person?
My brother, the law did not discriminate against the levels of income. The law says that when you are stepping out, being in a mask. So our fiat is that whoever comes to the center should be in a mask. There are a lot of places which, when you go, it will be placed no mask, no entry. So polling stations are no mask, no entry. We are not going to justify any grounds that somebody that can afford whatever. In that case, then we should change the law. But as the law is, you step out only when you are masked, and we will insist on that.
Mr. Sirbo, Dr. Sirbo, I know you've been doing EC for a long time. So let me ask you this. And this is also in the interest of getting this right, because there are laws that that are competing here. How do you balance that law, the executive instrument, against the constitutional right to vote?
You should always know that right go with responsibilities. Where you are right and is where somebody's right starts. You are supposed to protect yourself and protect me. If you have the right to vote, that right should be exercised responsibly. And that includes putting on mask.
Stay with me, Dr. Sirbo. Rhoda Osei, what's your take on this? I know you've deployed people to monitor the elections today from Kodeo. Give me your observation of this COVID protocol and what should happen. If some have suggested that the state should possibly take up the responsibility, seeing what has happened today, to make masks available at polling centers for those who genuinely cannot afford or do not have face masks to wear. What's Kodeo's assessment of this, and what you will recommend in the wake of this challenge emerging today?
Well, first of all, thank you, Evans. I think this is a a careful balance that we have to strike. We are looking at public safety or health safety, and then we are also looking at the right of the individual to take part in the legitimate activity or exercise. The individual himself or herself, I mean, we are all looking at our individual safety as well. But the thing I want to say is, could we look at alternatives? So if you're unable to afford a face mask, for instance, can you come with a face covering, your own homemade something that you can just use to essentially cover your nose or your mask, whether it's a handkerchief, a neat handkerchief that you can wash and clean before election day, and just to be able to cover your nose and your mouth. I think that is the essentially the purpose of the face mask. So some of these other alternatives are worth considering. I would have wished that this particular subject had come up earlier, but it's good that you're still raising it at this point in time. It's still not too late, just so we are all aware and we are all conscious of what we can do and we cannot do. But it's a very important subject that we have to look into. And I advise that every voter, to the best of your abilities, you go with a face mask, but also in the alternative, if you can go with any face covering that will help you comfortably cover your nose and your mouth, just so you protect yourself and you protect others.
Okay. Dr. Siribo, so there you have it. I think it's a conversation. We still have some few days to go as we try and fine-tune some of these things to see how we can help the most vulnerable in our society who may, for genuine reasons, lack the protective PPEs that we all, I guess some of us take for granted here in Accra. There are some other key issues that I need to raise with him, but of course, other issues too on your mind.
Well, so Dr. Siribo, this particular issue, for the purposes of education also, those whose names are supposed to be on the special list, the voters list today, but turned up at the various centers and their names was not on it. They are supposed to be voting today. They are part of security agencies, the media, in that category. But they went to the polling stations today and their names were not there. What happens to them? Do they still have the opportunity to cast their ballot?
The list came out about 3 weeks ago. So I would be surprised that anybody who qualifies there did not take the time to check on his or her name. Apart from putting the names on our website, all the institutions that are involved were given copies of the special voters list. So we were expecting that before today, anybody who qualifies should have been put on it or is aware that he was not put on it. I was at Breku today, and I met one security person. He came that he was going to vote. He was fighting the people. I went and asked him whether he applied. He said that he registered at the district office, and they were told that they will vote automatically for a special vote. And I said it's not done like that. If you go there to register, nobody will know that you are a security person or a media person. You need to apply. So all those who were not captured on the special voting, their names are still in the main register. So they're on the 7th of December, they will have to go to the main polling station to vote. Okay. On Friday, we met the top of the security services, and the instruction has gone down to the people that there are various regional and district officers who were not able to vote on the special voting day at the polling stations closer to where they registered, or at the polling station where they registered, so that they can exercise their franchise whilst voting. And the same thing applies to the media and everybody. If your name appeared on the special voting, you have been put on absent voting. So if you are not able to vote today, it means that you cannot exercise your franchise. Because on the day of voting, that is on the 7th December, your name will be on the special absent voters list. But if you are not put on the special voting, it means that your name remains in the main register. So you have to go to the polling station to vote on the 7th.
Okay. I'm sure that polls just closed just about an hour or so ago. But I don't know if it's early days yet to let us know in terms of the figures that turned out today on the list. We're expecting, 109,000 over that figure. Do we have an idea so far in terms of turnout?
You finish the election within 1 hour, the whole country automatically cannot get it.
Okay, but you're happy about turnout. You were mentioning that you've been to a number of centers.
All the that I visited, I went to Keyere Sector A. There were 411. I went there at 8 o'clock. That's 1 hour after voting, and they almost 100 people have voted, about 1/4 within 1 hour. I went to the other one, which was at 111. Then something had voted. And it moves at the same time. When I went to Kaswa around 3 o'clock, out of 632, 515 had voted. So that tells you that the turnout was very high.
Okay, I'm just working with a 24-hour timeline that you gave, so I'm hoping that we are working with some supersonic speed, particularly with this one. That's how come I was asking about that.
I mean, we still have Rhoda from the Kodeo on the line, but there's some quick notes I wanted to clarify with Dr. Kweku on this. Dr. Kweku, on the subject of what we can do collectively, EC, state, etc., for the most vulnerable with this face matter, a member of parliament had just sent a note that in the briefings that they got from the EC, EC had assured that part of the budget that was approved will be for the purchase of some face masks for those who may turn up at the polling stations who may not genuinely have one and cannot afford. Was that part of the plan?
I know it was done during the registration, but for the election, I'm not so sure, so I wouldn't want to comment on that.
Okay. Would you say it was done for the registration? I guess, wouldn't it be ideal to replicate it for the national elections as well?
That's something that I'm not sure of what is in the budget. I wouldn't want to see.
Comment.
I wouldn't want to deny or confirm when I'm not sure.
Okay. Stay with me. Rhoda, give me your Kodeo's preliminary assessment of today.
Yes, we've had pre-election observers across the country, about 65 constituencies. Many of them were able to observe the exercise today. So far, the information, the reports we've received from across the country indicate that it was a generally smooth, a good process. There weren't any significant issues with the performance of biometric verification devices in many places. Everybody was able to go through biometric verification, which is very important because you are looking at the efficiency of the machines. And we all know that one of the reasons why the Electoral Commission compiled a new register was the issue of the state of their equipment. And so it's good for us to know that the new equipment that have been procured have, at least for us at now, have lived up to some expectations or have lived up to expectations. There were few places where just a couple of people, 1 or 2 people had to go through facial recognition. And so all in all, that was a good process. Away from that, there were few issues about people not finding their names. And I think this is a recurrent issue that we continue to witness as far as early or special voting is concerned. I think the numbers this time around have gone down a bit if you look at the number of people who couldn't find their names on the special voting list. In many places, there weren't people like that, but at a few places, there were few people. In some places, there were about 17 people, other places about 5, 10 people. So those issues were still there. It's still not clear why we continue to have these issues. If you submitted your list for special voting, at some point in time, there should be good communication as to whether your list went through or not. And in any case, the Electoral Commission also provided there was an opportunity for people to verify if their names were not on the special voting list. So the question then is whether these people found their names at the time that the register was available on the EC's website, or probably they didn't even check at all. But these are issues that I think in future we can still continue to improve. But of course, we have to know really what the problem is about the compilation of the list. But all in all, it was a good process. Turnout was good. Before I asked about, I think she asked Dr. Kweku about some percentages. From what we've heard from our observers, in many places, turnout was around 95, 94%, 90%. A few places too had around 80%. But overall, the response was quite encouraging.
Okay, I mean, so that is a preliminary assessment from Kodeo. I still have with me Dr. Cyril Kweku, Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Rhoda Osei, of course, with the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, joining us right now because we need to get a picture of some incidents that we understand, of course, unfolded in WA. My colleague, Rafiq Salam, joins us right now with the very latest on this. Rafiq, we are learning that there was a few cases of people, names appearing twice. Clarify that for us. Hello, Rafiq. I think you've possibly muted your Zoom. If you can unmute it, let's get this clarified so we could get some clarity on this going forward. If you can hear me.
Are you hearing me now?
I can, yes.
Okay. This was an issue that was spoken or that was alleged by the incumbent member of Parliament for Wa Central Constituency, Dr. Rashid Hassan Pelko. He spoke about some names on one of the registers here. You know, the Upper West region have 11 constituencies but have 12 centers. And so in these centers, 2 of the centers were in the Wa Central Constituency. So they allege that they have found some 2-3 names that were twice on the register. So it was an allegation that I pushed to the regional director of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Ali Osman Adamu, and he said that it has also come to their notice. The municipal director of the EC, Mr. Bernard, told him about it, and it's an issue that they will deal with before December 7th.
Okay, so the EC official there confirmed that indeed happened and they are looking into it?
Yes, they confirmed that, yes, there was some names that appeared twice on the register.
Okay, apart from that, I am assuming that everything else had gone according to plan? No other incidents reported?
There haven't been any incident reported in all the 12 centers in the Upper West region. Remember, the Upper West region, 3,459 persons were expected to cast their ballots between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Let me narrow it to the Wa Central Constituency, 2 centers. So the centers, both of them, one is located just adjacent the regional police headquarters, and the other one also located at the back of the Circuit Court. And so at Circuit Court 1B, out of the 343 people out of the 433 persons who registered for the polls, we have only 380 people voting at 5 p.m. And so 99 of them were females, 281 were males. So in terms of attendance or turnout, it was 87.8%. That's how it panned out at Circuit Court 1B. And so by the other polling stations, Circuit Court 1A, out of the 334 people who registered for the polls, who registered the name for voting, 391 persons also voted at the close of polls. And so that's the situation in the Upper West region here. No incident to report on because it was a peaceful year. There was a lot of tranquility here. And then also, they were also observing the social distance and also the COVID-19 protocols. So it was easy going here, right in the Upper West region and to the very extent, the West Central constituency.
Rafiq, thank you very much. And I quickly want to bring in Dr. Kweku. Dr. Kweku, so is it possible, and as we've just heard my colleague there confirm that he checked with the EC official there when the complaints came, that we've found names appearing twice in 2 different stations. How could that happen? And there's a remedy for this. The electoral officer confirms to our reporter that they're looking into this to try and resolve it.
Your line was dropping, so can you come again?
Yes, I mean, our reporter there, Rafiq, in WA, of course, picked up there's a concern that was raised by the Member of Parliament that names appeared twice in 2 different locations, polling stations. It was raised with the electoral officer in charge, who confirmed it and said they're going to look into this. I mean, I wonder how this could have been possible with the systems that will, of course, be run if indeed it did happen.
I would have wanted to know whether it was the same polling station.
So it happened in what they had.
Sorry, some of them were split. Now, if the related voters were more than 10 it was split. So if it was the same bridge which came as a result of split, then maybe the splitting was not properly done. Instead of maybe you will split it into two, and the border names they skip over here and there. If that's the case, then it was a splitting error.
Okay.
So if it's in the middle, then that's a serious issue.
Okay.
So I will want to contact my person to appreciate what actually happened.
Okay. I mean, if today was a test for December 7, how will you score yourself?
For this election?
Yes.
I wouldn't want to mark, but you yourself should be able to mark. So this one is an A performance.
Oh, okay. But I thought you were going to put an asterisk at the end of the A.
I was going to say, where at school there was no A plus, else I would have said A plus.
Dr. Siribo Kweku, thank you very much for your time.
My satisfaction is with respect to the performance of the BBC.
Okay.
As is the first time we are using, and also the cooperation that we got today from the political party.
Okay, good. I mean, talking about political parties, we'll talk to them shortly. But I'm grateful, sir. That is the EC's Director of Electoral Services giving us a reaction to some of the key issues. For me, the big takeaway is the EC is confirming the directive from the EC to the agents, to the EC reps on the ground, that no face mask, no access. I mean, yeah, you can actually boil it down to that.
That's what they said earlier, that no face mask, no vote, and that you will not be allowed within that perimeter at all, let alone get access to the ballot to vote.
We're going to take a break. This is your election headquarters. If you're just joining us, this is our special coverage of the special voting. It is special. It deserves special coverage, doesn't it? You only get it here on your election headquarters as we bring you the very latest wrapping up and getting you a sense of where we are with elections. How many days away now?
6 days.
6 days away.
Exactly 6 days.
And we've had a picture now, largely peaceful. Some issues arising. Arrests made in Kroa, for example. Two. We've heard from both the candidates there who are at the police station over this particular matter. In Ningo Pram, there have been threats of violence that we've seen today also. The police commander there had confirmed to us they are getting reinforcement because of these threats for election day. And the situation across the country has been one largely of peaceful nature. But we're also seeing cases of high voter turnout. Of
course, Cordeo ranks it. That is very impressive in terms of the turnout. And you've heard the EC also rating themselves, giving themselves an A. If there's A+, they say they will give themselves for that in terms of performance for today. But there's only 109,000 voters that were expected to vote today. Let's see, as compared to the D-Day in 6 days. This is your election headquarters, brought to you by Petrosol, Clean Fuel, Full Quantity, and of course, Cowbell Coffee. We'll take a quick break here. When we return, we'll take your comments as well via WhatsApp is 055-1111-997. Send them in. Also, if you're watching us live on Facebook, you can leave those comments there. We're right back after this. Do stay with us.